Join for free and find God's match for you at christianmingle.com.
I don't see anyone from the Libertarian or Republican movement who talk about small government and overstepping American citizens' rights coming to the fore either on camera or on social media to talk about this situation. You want to appeal to minority voters, this is how you do it. You don't just come to the aid of white people that are being under siege by the government. You come to the aid of Americans who are under siege by the government.
That was LZ Granderson a moment ago, not too long ago, with our colleague Carol Costello. Let's bring back Mo Ivory and Professor Jelani Cobb. You know, it's interesting. We're having this conversation, all of us here, and John and I, you and I have been talking about this, and you don't agree with what LZ's assessment is necessarily.
I think you are starting to see more libertarian-leaning conservatives come out and say things about the use of police power right now and the militarization of police. You are. Justin Amash, a congressman from Michigan, came out with a very strong statement. Ted Cruz, who you wouldn't necessarily always call a libertarian, came out with a statement specifically criticizing the attacks on the press so far in Ferguson. So you are starting to see it. I suspect you will see more, in fact.
But what about on the ground? And I'm curious if Professor Cobb, you've seen more community leaders down there trying to help and urge calm and have conversations. Because the fact is, you've talked about the tension in that community having been around for several decades. But I'm wondering if the city leaders have a sense that something really is amiss in their city and that something needs to change.
Yes, one of the things that you heard consistently when you talk to people, I talked to people in different parts of town yesterday, one of the things that you heard consistently was a kind of disillusionment with the black political power here. People believe that they had very little leadership, and some of the leadership that they had might be ineffectual. And so, yes, that is something that people have articulated. And what I saw yesterday were many grassroots people, clergy members or community organizers who were out trying to keep the crowd calm and to appeal to people to not let this tip over into something violent.
Mo, I've been surprised that it's Thursday now. Part of me has been surprised we haven't heard more directly from Governor Jay Nixon of Missouri. Yeah. Part of me has been surprised that we haven't heard more from the White House. I know the president put out a statement on this, but given how this has in some cases deteriorated over the days, part of me thinks that more White House, at least verbal involvement, might be helpful.
Part of me agrees with that completely. And I mean, especially since President Obama's on vacation right now, it just kind of makes people feel like, you know, maybe he should come forward and say something. He did absolutely issue the statement about, you know, speaking with Eric Holder about it, but it's so inflamed right now. I just think that his power and his calmness could help the situation if he were to have a press conference. And I hope that that will be coming up soon, or that he will visit Missouri or whatever. But I'm really disappointed at the governor, because I can't imagine, and you cannot take race out of this, but I can't imagine that if it were a white male, a white boy laying in the middle of the street for hours, gunned down by a police officer, that it would have taken him 5 days to end up in Ferguson. I just can't understand that. And that is why it is so important for us to hold our political figures in our town, in our state, federally, you know, responsible for what they do with their power. This is about coming from the top down. Nothing is going to change in America if there are not consequences for what people do. If the power structure from the top up, not from the bottom up, we can't begin to say, well, what we'll do next is train Ferguson police officers to have more sensitivity. No, it starts with the police chief. It starts with the people that are in power. It starts with them being accountable and having consequences when the people under them or their department, you know, becomes a disarray. That's what we don't see. We don't see people held accountable for Black death. And until that happens, things will never change.
Well, I want to say, literally within the last minute that we were talking about this, I just saw this cross our system here. The president will be making a statement at 12:15 from Martha's Vineyard. Now, I don't know specifically that it will address the issues in Ferguson. I'd be surprised, frankly, if it does not.
And can I also add just one other little note that we got, that the Ferguson police chief says that Anonymous, the hacking group, the online hacking group, is wrong on the name of the police officer they've been tweeting out. So this shows you that there's a lot going on in this story. There's a lot of stuff coming to light that has to be checked and double-checked. CNN has been committed to not releasing that name until we were able to confirm. But this is a changing story by the minute. A big thank you to Mo Ivory and Professor Jelani Cobb. Thank you so much for sticking with us this hour.
Ahead for us at this hour, the U.S. has authorized nearly 1,000 troops to go to Iraq since early June.